Today I am talking with Tristan Walker-Hutt, a famous East Coast sailor who you'll remember probably from the renovation of Fawkes, an International 14 that really proved that you could get out sailing in a proper high performance dinghy on a really tight budget. And Tristan, it's been an interesting time. You got out, I understand, just before lockdown in your RS 800, but that was actually your last sail.
It was, yeah, regressively, but sensibly, following government advice. We haven't been out since because I have 3 double-handed boats and sail with someone from a different house. So it's been a little bit limiting, but thank goodness we got out for that sail before the lockdown. And my goodness, what a sail it was! It was like 25 knots. You know, the water was pretty rough, as you can imagine. The tide turned and then it flattened right off. Absolutely amazing conditions for an RS 800. And we just had the best sail. And you know what? If that was my last sail going into lockdown, fine. That was an absolutely epic sail. Great day on the water, and just a true reminder of how much I love sailing.
I got a blast out in my laser just before lockdown. It was actually the only races that I've done so far this year were 2 Sunday races down at Keyhaven, and for a long while that just stood in my memory while everything was just turning upside down with the world. So I fully get that. But since then you've clearly not spent any time getting your hair cut, looking at you.
Yeah, so I am well, I'm glad at 32. I suppose I'm glad I've got hair, but still yeah, still got it, and so thought I'd make the most of it, I suppose. My wife keeps reminding me that it's probably the last chance in my life that I'm going to sensibly be able to grow my hair really long. So why not just go through the awkward phase during lockdown? You know, keep a low profile, don't do any online interviews, and and yeah. So it's getting pretty long, and yeah, I'm hoping to have it go for hopefully not a Brian May, more of a kind of a shoulder length controlled thing. But who knows? Who knows? It has a mind of its own.
Well, you're in a position where your hair actually can grow. Mine only does it on the sides and back nowadays. So it really comes from a position of jealousy. But you've been keeping yourself busy, and you're using this time to diversify what you do in the marine industry, using your experience from sailing on boats such as the 14, the 800 and the 18-foot skiff. And one of the businesses you've taken a look at in the point of view of getting products to market is a safety knife, and you started with the Sea Shark knife, I understand. So can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the whole thing with that started probably, embarrassingly, it should have started a lot earlier than this, but probably about 6-7 years ago when I was sailing skiffs out in Sydney. It really was emphasized, like, how you should always carry a knife on you. So I went for the classic back cut knife, and there's loads of people out there making them, and you know, I thought, right, perfect, I'll have one of those on me, I'll feel safer, and great. And so I did that, and unfortunately every time I did, within a very short time frame, and I was only out there 6 months, I found these things were just constantly rusting. And it just completely dented my confidence in the whole idea. Put simply, I just thought, what's the point in carrying a rusty knife on me? So besides anything else, in the eventuality that I do need it, it may not work. Best case scenario, if I don't need it, it's probably going to end up staining all of my kit. So you know, I just got really disheartened with that. And in the end, just stopped wearing one, because I just thought there's no point. Basically, there's other ways to be safe. You know, wear a helmet, do other things. So but in reality, I really should have had a knife on me. So when I came back to the UK, I started to ponder this idea, and actually the thing that really prompted me into action was the birth of my daughter. And thinking, okay, well, you know, I need to be more sensible now when I'm sailing. You know, I don't want to stop sailing silly boats, so I need to start being more sensible on those boats. So I decided to create something that would not rust, basically, and that was the simple focus idea of the Sea Shark Sea-Tech knife. It's made by Sea-Tech in New Zealand, and it has solid titanium blades. They're not coated, they're solid titanium, and they're housed in a carbon body, so the two materials don't have a problem with each other. They get on very well, and yeah, it you know, titanium is famous for its resilience to corrosion.
And this is the problem with a standard blade. We're out in the elements. We're in salt water, and you're always going to end up with corrosion. So you have to go for titanium and carbon to have materials that avoid this corrosion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you get some other added benefits as well. You can make it really small, extremely lightweight. I mean, that is the size of the whole thing. It's tiny. It cuts up to 6 mil Dyneema. The guys at Sea-Tech are just wonderful. You know, I worked with those guys right from the word go on it, and put simply, I did this on the basis of, well, I need a safety knife for me, really selfishly. If I need to order 100 of these things, then I've just got a lifetime supply of knives. And then, you know, that was always the idea in the back of my mind. I was like, well, you know, if all else fails, then I've got a great knife and I'm happy. But I started speaking to friends, and a few people started buying them, and I was like, okay, you know, let's make a website. Let's do something with this. And Sea-Tech are already saying, okay, well, you know, what else could we do, and how could we develop something else for bigger boats? And it's been really, really fun, actually, really fun.
So many businesses have started that way, where first of all you realize that it's a problem from your own point of view, and then you realize loads of your friends have exactly the same problem, and they say, hang on, let's get this product out there, let's make it so that everybody can actually use a safety knife which actually works and will last. So hats off to you for actually going ahead and doing that. And that's what we love to see, especially during this time when you see so much change happening. It can provide the opportunity to start this kind of business and get new products out there. So really good to see this one. But this isn't all you're doing. As you mentioned, you've got a young daughter at home. You're working on your house, I understand. But
yeah.
Just setting up one product. Yeah, that's just one product. But you've also started East Coast Kit.
I have, yes. So not wanting to stand still, that basically was it was an idea I had in the back of my mind for not quite as long as the knife, but certainly for the last couple of years. I've seen a gap in the market that's been pretty obvious to me, and I've to some extent my hands have been tied because I was working full-time with Zyke. I just didn't have any time to do anything else really at that stage, certainly not to set anything up. But I always thought, I love selling to end consumers. It's one of the things that I really enjoy, and Zyke is fantastic. My work with them, I absolutely love it, and it allows me to interact a lot B2B, but I don't so much get to see end users and see people that, you know, really, really loving the product and using it, other than when I'm down at my local sailing club, which is great. But at the same time, I didn't want to just suddenly start competing against all the people I've been working with whilst at Zyke. So I wanted to be in a different kind of, I wanted to do something on a different kind of level, different scope, I suppose. So the idea of selling basically exclusively to teams and corporate clients with customized branded clothing, really appealed. And it's already been fascinating, you know, in the short time I've been doing this, speaking to people all over the country, but really interesting stuff like one person I'm speaking to is doing a Golden Globe campaign. Hearing all about that and the preparation and what's going into that, it's just, you know, you just soak it up. It's like, this is why I'm doing this, because it's fantastic to speak to these people and see how passionate they are about what they're doing, and seeing, even if I can play a small part in that, what I can do as a business, as, you know, as someone that just loves the sport of sailing, to support it. And it's great, honestly. It's so much fun. And obviously with COVID-19, everything that's happened, Zyke has put a very small part of the sales team on furlough leave. Most of Zyke is still operating as normal, but they've been really resilient through all of this. And they've very much said, you know, once things go back to normal, then I'll be straight back in there. But it gave me an opportunity. It gave me some time to sit down and go, right, let's do this, basically. So East Coast Kit is what's come out of that. So
continuing, I understand Zyke are one of the brands that you can use for the corporate and the team kit, and so working very, very closely with them still, but giving you the opportunity to diversify what you do.
Absolutely. So I mean, I'm on the phone to Zyke most weeks, just you know, having catch up, seeing how things are going, because I love the brand, and it's good to hear that sales are doing okay for them and things are actually picking up pretty well now. So, you know, that's really, really, really good to hear. But yeah, exactly. It gives me a chance. They supported it right from the off, and just shows, you know, in my opinion, how good they are as a brand, looking after me, saying, okay, you know, we're in this unfortunate situation, but here's an account, go do something with it. And it was like, all right, let's do it.
And I understand you've already got your first sponsored sailor in Ben Hutton Penman, who famous from the Fever fleet and now sailing, or about to sail, 29ers, I believe.
That's right. So Ben is Ben's great lad, and I've known him for a little while. I first started speaking to him a couple of years ago. He's local to me. He's Burnham. I live in Malden, so he's around the corner, relatively speaking. And he's a fantastic sailor and a brilliant personality, and a real true rising star in the sport, I believe. He's
going to be one to watch out for, without doubt, in the 29er fleet. And he's crewing on the boat, and he's teamed up with a pretty hot sailor, I understand.
Yeah, he's going to be crewing. I think up until this point he's been helming, and he is teaming up with. I probably shouldn't even say who he's teaming up with yet, but he is.
Okay, well, keep it secret at the moment.
but they are really, really good, and I think they're going to be a formidable pairing when they're sailing together. You know, a lot of sponsorship is picking a good sailor that performs well and all of that side of things. But Ben really brings a fully rounded approach to a sponsored athlete. He's an exceptional sailor, and he's also got a fantastic personality to go along with it, and to just be a great representative for East Coast Kit.
Sounds exactly what you need, and it is good to see this young generation of sailors who are coming through and realizing that sponsorship isn't just about going out and getting the results. It's about providing the personality, getting your branding out there, social media, with the news stories, and making sure that they are putting your brand in a visible and positive way. And from his own sailing, the RS Fever is actually what I'm sailing at the moment. I'm 6 foot. I can actually crew in a Fever for my kids. So yeah, know where he's come from in the fevers, but I've come into the class, I think, slightly older than most.
Well, I think it's something I'm going to come to experience in future years as well. So,
without doubt.
As a current skiff sailor, I'm delighted to hear you say that a 6-foot person can go on it and have fun, because I'm going to be right in that mould.
They're superb boats, and I have to say I'm having a lot of fun, and crewing for the kids and seeing their smiles just is a winner every time. But we're coming out of lockdown at the moment, but it is very much club sailing at the moment. But from my own experience, and also the huge amount of feedback I've had from articles lately, we're seeing a huge club revival. And you say your last sail was back in March in the 800, but you must be itching to get out on the water now at Marconi.
I'm chomping at the bit. So basically, as I mentioned earlier, I've got 3 boats, and they're all double handers. Now I can sail with my wife now that the lockdown's been eased a little bit, but obviously we can't leave a toddler on the beach, so that does make things a little bit challenging. So we're quite limited as to when we can go sailing. On the Dart, it would have to be very, very light winds. But with regards to the 14 and the 800, that's obviously out of the question at the moment. And I was kind of, with running around after my daughter at home, and setting up two businesses, and also renovating a house. Had plenty of distractions, but I must admit, last week I was sat in the garden. There seems to be almost cruel amount of beautiful sailing days at the moment. So I was sitting out in the garden, and I did turn to my wife and I said, yeah, I really miss the 14. And it weighed a little heavily on me, because it is like therapy going out sailing. It's a wonderful thing to do to just clear your head. And so I do miss it, and I absolutely cannot wait to get back into it. That being said, the club is doing everything it can. Marconi Sailing Club is being wonderful at very much taking a safe approach to things, but allowing sailing to happen where it can. And the amount of sailing I've seen, I've been down the club a couple of times, the amount of single-handed sailing, and particularly windsurfing I've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've never seen the amount of windsurfers down the club that I've seen. Now, it could be that we've just had some windy days, but it's really amazing. I think a lot of people are dusting off their old kit.
Well, that's exactly what I've done. And last Saturday, I went down to Mudderford and sailed in Christchurch Harbour. And there were a lot of people of my age, and quite a few. Some had some nice, shiny new kit, but a lot of people were sailing on 25-year-old kit like I was. So I think you're right. But also down at the sailing club, it's as busy as I've ever seen. It's casual sailing at the moment. And I do think people are using this time to reflect and just focus on the pure enjoyment of sailing. And I think it could be a huge benefit to sailing in the long term.
It's almost like, in the best possible way, it's almost like the clock has been turned back 30 years. Because what I'm seeing is that exactly what you said. Everyone's doing things locally to avoid excessive travel, and because there aren't events going on. So everyone's going to their home club, supporting their home club where they can. There's so much more activity. There's such a positive buzz. The weather has been amazing, so that's helped too. So the clubs are doing what they can, which is really good. And that kind of ties in with what I've seen just generally in life, because my wife runs a zero waste shop in Malden, and they have seen business really do well during the lockdown. Obviously they sell food, so that's kind of part of it, but it's been a bit more, that sector's been a bit more resilient, obviously, but generally people have been shopping a lot more locally during everything that's happened. And I think in general people are doing a lot more supporting independence, and with that, supporting local clubs and going to their local club because it's just so much easier. And maybe remembering a bit of, you know, how great it is to do the local club sailing scene. It's fantastic.
Well, it's great to hear that this is happening around the country. Of course, I'm only seeing it in the little microcosm that I'm in at the moment, and talking to people around the world and yourself up on the East Coast, hearing that this is happening and this great grassroots revival is taking place is great to hear, and I think is going to be hugely positive for sailing as we come out of lockdown and
Absolutely.
things get to this new normal. And it could well be exactly what sailing needed. Of course, the circumstances of it, nobody would wish for to go through this, but for sailing, I think we could all realize just how good it is for us and what a huge asset we've got with our local clubs. So good luck, Tristan, getting out on the water yourself. I hope the Dart 18 is out soon with your wife and you manage to sort out something in the way of childcare for that. And really good to talk to you, and I really hope we catch up soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to get out on the water. And yeah, likewise, brilliant to catch up with yourself. And yeah, look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care and stay safe.
You too. Bye.